there's two guys on defense that I see right now that are the final pieces to making this a truly elite, game-changing, gap-closing type of defensive class.
Okay.
It's number one. Everybody knows my number one. It's Anthony Lucas. That he is the guy, right? But my number two guy is Xavier Nwankpa. I mean, he is that next level. You get him, you now feel like you have Kyle Hamilton's replacement. And I know that's a lot of pressure on the kid, but that's, to me, how good he can be. I'm not saying he's going to be Kyle Hamilton, but he gives you that, wow, you got one of the best in the game, one of the best players in the country to do that. I mean, he's in the conversation to be the best safety in his class.
Okay.
And he's a special player, and we're gonna watch his film, and I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks, because I think this kid is a to me, as a safety, a gap eraser, not just a gap closer. He's a gap eraser. I think this is a kid that has all the physical and instinctive traits that you want. So let's watch a little bit of Xavier Nwankpa's film. Now, he's from Iowa, so you don't often see that kind of player from Iowa. But this kid, to me, this is a special player. So we're going to watch some film of him on defense. Let me get this. They don't need to look at our faces. We can just focus on the kid. All right, let's get back to that. Let's start it over here. That's one of those gimme highlights. Like, so that's not even like, okay, you didn't really do anything on that one. Now that was the other guy. So what you're going to see here from Xavier is you're going to see a guy with an exceptional range. Okay, so I want you to watch this play. So Xavier is right here on the hash. Okay, as you watch this play develop, he's inside the hash when this ball breaks, and he gets outside and undercuts that route. That's like Kyle Hamilton type of range there. Like, that is special range. This kid gets his hands on a lot of footballs. Very rangy, covers a ton of ground, in my opinion. Really gets downhill in a hurry. This is an interesting play because the beginning of this play is not a highlight of Xavier. You can watch him get a little bit grabby here. It's him right there. I believe that's him right there. Gets a little grabby, but watch him come up and just lay the boom on this kid. Just lays that kid out. But I love his range. I love his instincts. I love it. You see his foot quickness there. This isn't a super impressive play, but what I like, Sean, is just how nimble he is on his feet, loose he is on his feet. I really like that. And the thing about him, too, is you watch him, his footwork is not great. It's just he's got great foot quickness. As his technique gets cleaned up and he starts playing with a little bit better footwork, you're going to see a kid that's going to be a really, really impressive football player. Oh, come on, Xavier. You got to make that catch. It's a good open field tackle. Very rangy. Again, got to improve his angles. See that right there, though, Sean? Watch him flip his hips. Watch how fluid he is. He just opens up and takes off running. It's a really impressive athlete. Angle's not great, but I like the agility. I like the hips. Covers a lot of ground. This kid's a really, really good football player. Yeah. Feel free to enter in any thoughts you have so far about him.
The anticipation reminds me very much of Kyle Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Just anticipating where the ball is going, anticipating routes. You see that in him. I love
look at that close right there, Sean. Yeah. Look at that close. Look how far he is away from this tight end.
Go back to that right there. That play right, that's a bait job. Look at him.
Yep. And look him turn on the gear.
Yeah, he just turned it on. That's a bait job.
And he has to slow down at the end to catch the ball because the ball was underthrown. He had to actually slow down and jump.
Yeah.
But you can't bait a guy if you can't cover ground like that.
Exactly.
I could try to bait someone like that. I'm still getting beat because the reason I say that is if you like right now, if it's a lesser athlete, that gap right there never gets closed. He closes that gap before the ball gets there.
Yeah.
That's range.
That's like when you're running the corners in track, you make up the stagger.
Mm-hmm.
This kid makes up the stagger. He makes up the yardage. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What are his measurables?
He's listed at 6'2", about 190, 195.
Yeah, he looks about 6'2".
Mm-hmm. He's a low tackler. That's the other thing too. Is in space he goes low, which I like. That's another play. Look at the range there. It just he gets his hands on so many footballs. That's the thing that impresses me. And seen a couple game films too, and it's just I feel like every time the ball's ever thrown his direction is actually on his highlight tape because there's just so few times that they actually throw the football at him. Here he is on offense. You're going to get to see some of the athleticism. And he's not an offensive player, but you see the foot quickness. You see the gear. Look at that. It looked like they might actually had a shot at him there for a second.
Wow.
Right? You look at here. It doesn't necessarily look like this is going to be a home run. And then all of a sudden, he just runs away from everybody.
So is he a come down in the box?
I think he's a do it all. I mean,
I was just about to ask you,
yeah.
Could you line him up over Michael Mayer? Well, just say a tight end,
right?
Maybe Michael Mayer, and just say defend this guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't know how many safeties you can do that. I think Kyle Hamilton would have some issues with doing that against Michael Mayer, just because he's so strong. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy you can say go cover the tight end. He's a guy that I think you can say play center field. He's a guy that I think you can say hey, play the alley, jump the in cuts, jump the intermediate stuff, go downhill, tackle people. I think he can do it all. Look at that jump cut right there. Here's at running back. Look at that, Sean. That's the kind of foot quickness I keep talking about. Like, watch this jump. He jumps back 2 gaps, and then as soon as he hits the ground, he's running again. Like, he's a really impressive athlete.
I think Lance Taylor likes that part right there.
Mm-hmm. Here he's returning punts. Like I said, he get the ball on the outside hand. Other than that, I mean, to me, Sean, he's a kid that has all the traits you want.
I think what we see when you see these type of kids and the work you do with film, continuously pointing out to people the strengths of a kid like this, it continues to point to what Marcus Freeman has talked about, the plan that he has for this defense, the multiple ways he wants to attack. You talked about it. He might come out with 3 safeties on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You never know how he's going to use the safeties on the back end in his defense. He might slide a safety down into that rover position for a certain look, especially against teams that are going up tempo.
Mm-hmm.
Spread it out a little bit more. So when you have talented guys like that, and you continue to bring volume into the room at each position, as you called for earlier today, you give the toys to the master.
Mm-hmm.
That can go ahead and just make them all work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're going to be watching, it's almost like what we saw offensively under Lou Holtz, we might watch under Marcus Freeman, like the multiplicity. Like literally you could have Ricky Waters in the backfield, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Rocket at split in, and then the very next play, you could have Ricky Waters at split in with Rocket in the backfield.
But this is the thing, though, Sean. This is the kind of kid that you have to close on, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? This is the kind of kid you have to
get. In order to do that, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And this is a kid. Who's your competition? It's Texas A&M, right? But more importantly, it's Ohio State, right? That's what we were talking about in the earlier show.
Yes.
These are the battles you have to start winning against Ohio State, right? And it would be especially impressive because number one, it would say a little something about Chris O'Leary in his first year as a safeties coach. It would also say something about the entire defensive staff, but it would also say, hey, look, we're a player for the top players. I mean, we don't care if we're 4th and we got to come back. We don't care if we're 2nd and we got to beat Ohio State. We don't care. As long as the kid gets on our campus, we think we have a shot. And this is what we said when we said in May, and it's still true now. If I had to make a prediction today, I'd predict Ohio State. All right, I'm not going to blow smoke up people's what. That's not what we do. We're going to be honest with you, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say things, and I'm not saying anybody else does this at the Notre Dame beat. I'm not saying that, but I do know that people that cover recruiting for other schools will do this. It's, they got a great shot at this guy because they want people really interested in the weekend, which means you're going to read our stuff, which means you're going to read our post game and all that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be honest with you. But here's what I've always said: you got to get him on campus, and if you do, you got a puncher's chance, and that's all you can ask for. You got to have that puncher's chance. And now I feel like there's a staff in place, whether it's Freeman, whether it's Elston, whether it's Mickens, whether it's O'Leary, whether it's Brian Kelly being more involved. You've got the infrastructure. I mean, the kid's going to sit down with Kyle Hamilton. How many safeties is Xavier Nwankpa going to meet that he's got to look up to? And I don't mean look up to like as a role model. I mean literally look up to.
And staff,
and say this is a big safety and he's the best in the country and he plays at Notre Dame and he has very good grades. And he goes to class and he's still a baller.
Yeah.
Right. Like, hey, man, Kyle Hamilton say, look, I go to class, I get good grades, I'm taking a real major, and I'm also the best safety. I mean, Kyle would never say that because he's too humble, but you get the point that I'm making, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
man, don't listen to all that noise, man. You come here, they're going to coach you up. They're going to play you all over. They're going to let you go make plays. They're going to do this, going to do that. And look, the reason I wanted to talk about the safety position the same day as the linebackers, it's what you and I were talking about in an earlier show. And that's why I wanted to get you back on tonight. Because what we said was, when we talk about corner, is if you're Xavier Nwankpa and you start seeing Ohio State and you know they're going to have great front seven, you know they're going to have great skill players, is Notre Dame going to be that way? But then you look at it and say, okay, they already got Tyson Ford. They've already got Aiden Guevara, who's blowing up. They got Darren Nagu, who's blowing up. They've already got Josh Burnham, who's a top-ranked player. They got Nolan Ziegler. If they get Jalen Sneed and Junior Tuilamaka, I'm gonna be playing behind the best front seven in this class at that point in time.
Yeah.
Then if they get Anthony Luke, they have Donovan Hinish, and then they get Anthony Lucas. I mean, that can be the kind of thing that says, you know what, I was torn on these two schools, but they're doing something special over there.
Special, yeah.
And that's where all that stuff matters, and that's why, if they're able to get Tuilamaka and Sneed, it doesn't just impact the linebacker position. No, it's going to impact other positions, and this is why we wanted to talk about safety, because that's the kind of kid that can get it. Now you're going to have your puncher's chance this weekend. Now it's up to the staff to finish off the comeback.
Yeah.